They voted my daughter out, so I voted them out of my house. I came home after a double shift at the hospital, and my 7-year-old daughter was missing. My mother looked me in the eye and said, "We voted. You don't get a say." My sister was already stripping my daughter's room like it was a hostile takeover. I stayed calm, took a slow breath, and said one sentence that made every single one of them go pale. The moment everything changed. At 11:03 in the morning, I stood on the front step in my worn work shoes, keys still clutched in my hand, and listened. Not for anything dramatic, just for my daughter Cora. A cartoon theme song playing in the background, the sound of little feet padding across the floor, maybe a neighbor's voice drifting from down the hall. Instead, what I heard was activity, voices, and laughter. The kind of bright, busy energy that usually only fills this house when someone is about to ask me for something. My body was begging for sleep. My head was still swimming in fluorescent lights and beeping monitors. I had been on my feet so long that my bones felt like they had been rented out to someone else. But even so, I had been looking forward to this day. 2 hours of sleep, maybe 3 if I was lucky, then the whole afternoon with Cora. Bedtime together. Then I would crash properly. That was the plan. I stepped inside, and almost immediately something felt wrong. The house smelled like coffee and warm syrup, and I could hear my mother's bright, cheerful voice, the one she always uses when she is trying to sell you on something. Then I spotted my sister Allison in the hallway, wearing her socks, hauling a stack of flattened cardboard boxes. A ring light box was propped against the wall, already opened. She looked up, smiled without showing her teeth, and said, "Oh, you're home." Like I was the one who was interrupting. I did not smile back. I did not say hello. I did not ask why there were boxes in the hallway. I simply walked past her, straight to Cora's room, because I am a mother, not a tourist. The room that told me everything. I pushed the door open and stopped so suddenly that my shoulder hit the frame. The room looked like it had been hit by a very polite tornado. Cora's bed had been stripped down to the mattress. Her blanket, the one she absolutely refuses to sleep without, was folded and shoved into a laundry basket as if it were an inconvenience. Her stuffed bunny was sitting upright on the dresser, turned to face the wall. The rug had been rolled halfway up. The walls were bare in patches where her drawings and little handmade posters used to hang. Painter's tape was stuck to the baseboards. A measuring tape was stretched across the floor, and sitting on the desk was a neat stack of printed inspiration photos. All beige, all white, all aggressively adult. This was not cleaning. This was repurposing. This was, your child does not live here anymore, so her room is now available. My throat tightened. I turned in a slow circle as if Cora might be hiding behind something. "Cora," I called, softly at first. Nothing. I stepped further into the room. The closet door was open. Her backpack was gone. My hands went cold. We voted. I turned back into the hallway. Allison was leaning against the wall, wearing an expression of practiced innocence. "Where is she?" I asked. "Where's who?" she said, blinking at me. "Where is my daughter?" My voice stayed even. Before Allison could answer, my mother's voice floated in from the kitchen, warm and sugary, like she was about to offer me a plate of pancakes. "Oh, honey, come in here." I did not move. "Where is Cora?" Footsteps. Then my mother appeared at the end of the hallway, wiping her hands on a dish towel as if she were in a television commercial. My father stood behind her, arms crossed. Allison shifted beside me and suddenly became very interested in her nails. I repeated myself, "Where is Cora?" My mother smiled, tight and bright. "We voted." I stared at her. "You asterisk what?" She lifted her chin. "We voted, you don't get a say." The world went very quiet, as if someone had turned down the volume on everything except my own heartbeat. "You voted," I repeated slowly, because my brain refused to process it at normal speed. "About what?" My father crossed his arms. "It has been discussed." "It has been..." I let out a short, breathless laugh that contained absolutely no humor. "You held a asterisk vote asterisk about my child." My mother's expression hardened. You are never here, Hannah. You work all the time. I work, I said, because bills do not care about feelings. Now, where is she? Allison chimed in, casual as a weather report. She's with her dad. The air left my chest. With asterisk Stephen, I said, and it came out flat. My mother nodded, as if she had just solved a math problem. My hands went cold, then tingly. My 7-year-old barely knows him. He is still her father, my dad said. Biologically, I replied, and my voice stayed calm in that particular, dangerous way, calm like I was carrying something very heavy and trying not to drop it. My mother sighed as if I were exhausting her. We had to make a decision. You do not have the outside perspective. You are too close to it. I am her mother, I said. That is the perspective. Allison stepped forward and gestured down the hallway like a real estate agent showing off a renovation. Besides, we need that room. I stared at her. You need Cora's room. She didn't even flinch. I work from home now. I need an office, a studio. You cannot film content with a child running around. I looked from her to my mother. You are turning her room into a asterisk studio. My mother said, we cannot have a child here in the house. It is too disruptive. Disruptive, I said. My daughter asterisk existing is disruptive. My father added, you can't take care of her. You are always at work. So why are you acting shocked? Hash the pause before the fire. Something cold and clear settled into place inside me. Not anger, not yet. Something sharper. I took one slow breath. Then I turned and walked to the bathroom. Not because I was running away, but because if I stayed in that hallway 1 second longer, I was going to say something that would burn the whole house down, and I needed that fire later, when it would actually count. I locked the door. I stared at myself in the mirror. Work-worn face, tired eyes, the expression of a woman who has spent years trying to be reasonable with unreasonable people. I placed both hands on the sink and breathed. In, out. Then I unlocked the door and stepped back into the hallway. They were still talking, still justifying, still acting like they were some sort of committee appointed to manage my life. I walked toward them, calm, steady, different. I opened my mouth and said one sentence. They all stopped. The color drained from their faces. They stared at me like they had never seen me before, which was funny, in a dry sort of way, because they had spent my entire childhood training me to be the version of myself that would never frighten them. The one who did not push back. The one who accepted whatever was handed to her and called it family. But the woman standing in that hallway was not asking for permission anymore. Hash how we got here. Watching their faces shift, subtly at first, then sharper, pulled me backward through time. Because this did not start today. It started when I was a child. My sister Allison is 2 years younger than me. 2 years is nothing now, but in our house it was a crown. Allison was the favorite, not in the obvious way where parents say it out loud. They did it the quiet way, the way that lets them deny it later. Allison was praised for being asterisk special. I was praised for being helpful. Allison was creative. I was responsible. If Allison cried, my mother moved like a fire alarm had gone off. If I cried, my father would say, "You're fine." So I learned how to be fine. I learned how to be useful. I learned how to anticipate what they needed before they said it, because if you are useful, you get tolerated. Even when I was very small, I could feel it. The way they wanted me not exactly asterisk on asterisk, but out of the way. I became a nurse because nursing makes sense. There is a problem, you address it. Someone is hurting, you help. You do not hold a vote about whether they deserve care. Then I met Stephen. He was charming in the way that certain people are charming when they know exactly how to be. Funny, easy, the kind of man who made you drop your guard. I got pregnant. Stephen went quiet for a few days and then said, flat and clear, "I don't want kids," like he was turning down a side dish at dinner. I was young enough to think that love could fix it. But I was old enough to know I was not ending my pregnancy because a man wanted to stay comfortably irresponsible. So I had Cora. Stephen held her once, briefly and awkwardly, like she was made of glass and belonged to someone else. After that, he faded. He did not show up for the hard parts. He did not show up for the ordinary parts either. He would appear a few times a year, say something like, "Hey, kiddo," snap a photo as if it were proof of life, and disappear again. We never went to court, not because I did not believe in paperwork, but because you cannot negotiate a custody arrangement with someone who treats involvement like an optional subscription service. So Cora lived with me. Hash the arrangement that went wrong. When Cora was about 5, I had a job that worked. Not glamorous, not impressive, but it fit. Part-time hours, predictable shifts, the kind of schedule that allowed a single mother to do daycare pickup without sprinting through a parking lot. Money was tight, but Cora was safe. I was present. I could breathe. And then I was offered the position that nurses actually want. Better pay, real career traction. The kind of opportunity you do not get twice. The catch was the schedule, brutal hours, sometimes doubles, the kind of job that looks excellent on paper and quietly dismantles your personal life if you do not have a solid support system. My first instinct was to say no. I mentioned it to my parents almost casually, more as a way of thinking out loud than as an actual request for help. That is when they did an emotional U-turn, so fast it should have come with warning lights. Because before that moment, they were not warm with Cora. Not openly cruel, nothing you could point at directly and call out, but distant, in the way a stranger would be. They treated her like a guest's child who might spill something. They also had never shown any real interest in my career. So when my mother suddenly said, "You have to take it," I actually thought I had misheard her. "You can move in here," she said, breathless with enthusiasm. "We will help. We are retired. We can do the childcare. You cannot pass this up." My father nodded firmly. Allison, still living at home as an adult, added, "It is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. You would be foolish to say no." It was suspicious, and then the real reason finally surfaced. They were about to lose the house. My childhood home, the place they had always treated like a throne. They were drowning in debt. Approximately $68,000 in unsecured debt. They were roughly $19,400 behind on the mortgage and property taxes. Their credit was destroyed. They could not refinance. They could not borrow. They had no way out. My stable, better-paying job, that was their lifeline. They sat me down like they were presenting a business plan. "We need you to sign some things," my mother said. "What things?" I asked, already feeling a prickling sensation across my skin. "A loan," my father said, "in your name." My stomach dropped. "It is temporary," my mother said quickly. "We will pay you back." Allison smiled like she was sharing a clever trick she had just discovered. "Your credit is good, ours is not." And then came the part they tried to slip in like a minor footnote. "The house will need to be transferred into your name," my mother said, speaking faster now. "Just for the paperwork. It is a formality." A asterisk formality. They wanted me to absorb all the financial liability, carry all the debt, put my entire future at risk, and they still expected to keep all of the power. I did not like it, I did not trust it, but I also could not watch them lose their home. And here is the part that still makes me angry at myself. I wanted to believe they meant the rest of it, the childcare, the "we love having Cora here," the sudden, enthusiastic warmth. So I said yes. I put in approximately $24,000 of my personal savings up front. I took on a monthly mortgage payment of roughly $2,350 in my name. I signed everything they put in front of me. The house was transferred into my name, and they called it a formality. At first, the arrangement held. They provided childcare, I worked, Cora adjusted. Then the paperwork cleared, the house was safe, the crisis was over. And it was as if the deal had never existed. Suddenly, I was dumping my child on them. Suddenly, my job was a bad choice. Suddenly, I was never here, as if they had not been the ones to insist I take the schedule in the first place. Allison began complaining the most, about noise, about the lack of space, about needing a home office, about needing a studio for her content. Cora became the problem. Too loud, too present, too inconvenient. My parents backed Allison as they always had. Then the comments started. "Well, there is a father, isn't there? Why isn't she with him more? You cannot rely on us forever." I did not take it seriously, because Stephen was not a father in any meaningful sense, and because I genuinely could not believe my own parents would follow through on what they were implying. I thought it was pressure, control, empty threats. Until I came home at 11:03 in the morning after a double shift and found Cora's room being dismantled like she had never existed in it. And my mother said, "We voted." One sentence. In that hallway, watching their faces tighten, I understood that the hints and whispers had turned into action. I looked at each of them, calm, steady, clear. "I want you out of my house within 30 days, I said quietly. "All of you." The hallway went so still, I could hear the refrigerator humming from the kitchen. My mother blinked at me as if I had just announced I was moving to another planet. My father's mouth opened once and closed again. Allison's confident little smile shattered completely. "What do you mean?" my mother snapped. "What are you talking about?" my father added louder, as if volume could somehow rewrite reality. I did not answer. I did not argue. I walked to my bedroom. There is a certain kind of power in not explaining yourself to people who have never once explained themselves to you. Behind me, their voices followed like static. "That is not your house," my mother called from the hallway. "That is *ors. Don't speak to your parents like that," my father barked. "We made a difficult decision for you," my mother added. "You should have done it years ago." Allison's voice cut in, sharp with panic. It was the right thing to do. I kept moving. I took off my work shoes. I grabbed my bag, my phone, my keys. Then I opened the bottom drawer of my dresser and took out the folder I had been avoiding for years, the one containing all the paperwork. The one that proved what had once been called just a formality. I slid it into my bag without looking at it too long, because if I did, I would remember every moment I had swallowed my doubts to save them. I walked back out into the hallway. They were waiting, watching me now like I had become something unpredictable. "I will be sending you legal papers shortly," I said. "I want you out of this house." My mother froze, and this time it was not for show. My father snapped, "You can't do that." Allison turned to him, her voice pitching upward with panic. "Can she do that? What does she mean?" I did not answer. I walked out the front door. No yelling, no scene, no dramatic speech, just a clean exit. And behind me, I heard the scramble, the sudden shift from smug certainty to frantic calculation. Getting Cora back. In the car, my hands were steady on the wheel. My heart was not. I called Stephen. No answer. Voicemail. Of course. I drove anyway because sitting still would have turned into spiraling, and spiraling does not get your child back. I called again. Nothing. So I did the next thing. I called his mother, Susan. She picked up on the first ring, her voice cold and flat, as if she had been waiting for this exact moment. "Hannah," she said. "Do you know where Cora is?" I asked, and I heard the crack in my own voice. "My parents said she is with Stephen, but he is not answering. Is she okay?" "She will stay with us," Susan said, final as a slammed door. "And you are not getting her back." I blinked. "I'm sorry, what?" "She is fine," Susan said, "but you are not getting her back." Then she hung up. I stared at my phone for half a second, as if it might change its mind. It didn't. I turned the car around so fast my tires chirped. I drove to Susan and David's house with my jaw clenched hard enough to hurt. When I arrived, I knocked like I was trying to knock the lie right through the door. Susan opened it a few inches, not welcoming inches. The kind of opening that says, "I can shut this the moment you give me a reason." I did not bother with hello. "Where is Cora?" Susan looked me over slowly, scrubs, messy hair. The expression of someone running on fumes and sheer determination. She didn't soften. If anything, she looked more certain. "She's here," she said. A flicker of relief hit me. Then she added, flat as a slammed filing cabinet, "And you are not getting her back." I kept my voice steady. "Excuse me." "Your parents brought her," Susan said. "They said you knew. They said * you wanted her with Stephen." A short, humorless breath escaped me. Stephen will not even answer his phone. That did something, not kindness exactly, but a flicker of something behind her eyes, like the name was an old bruise. Behind her, a floorboard creaked. Her husband David appeared in the hallway, arms crossed, face unreadable. He watched from a distance, measuring. "Is she okay?" I asked, and I hated how carefully controlled my voice sounded. "She is safe," Susan said. "Then let me see her." Susan's hand stayed on the door. I could feel my pulse in my throat. I pressed it down nurse mode, controlled and clear. "I am not here to argue," I said. "I am here for my daughter." Susan's eyes narrowed slightly. "You should have come with her." "I did not send her," I said. "My parents did, behind my back." Silence, not peace, calculation. David's gaze shifted slightly, like he was checking whether my account held any weight. Susan's voice stayed cold. "People say anything when they want something." "Then do not take my word for it," I said. I pulled my phone from my pocket and held the screen toward her. One glance was enough. A column of missed calls to Stephen, stacked like a ladder. The call to Susan. The timestamps. "I called him, no answer. I called you, you hung up." I kept my voice low and steady. "Ask Cora what she was told." Susan's jaw tightened. David did not move for a long moment. Then he spoke, calm, almost deliberately casual, like he was trying not to show his hand. "Was she upset when she arrived?" Susan's eyes flashed at him, but she answered anyway. "Yes." I nodded once. "Then you already know something is wrong." The house behind them was very quiet. Too quiet, the kind of quiet that means someone small is sitting very still, waiting. David's eyes flicked toward the hallway behind her, then back to me. Another beat. Then he shifted, just enough to create space. "Come in," he said. Not warmly, but it was enough. Finding her. I stepped inside. Cora was sitting at the kitchen table. A cup was in front of her, and she had both hands wrapped around it like it was the only solid thing in the room. Her shoulders were hunched. She looked small in a way that made something inside me go completely still. "Cora," I breathed. Her eyes lifted to meet mine. She did not run. She did not smile. She simply stared as if she was waiting to find out whether I was real. I crossed the room and knelt beside her. "Hi, baby," I said softly and wrapped my arms around her. She did not hug me back. She stayed rigid, arms at her sides, as if she could not quite trust the moment. My chest tightened. I pulled back just enough to see her face. Her eyes were wet, but she was not crying the way children usually cry. It was as if she had already cried until there was nothing left. Then her voice came out small and broken. "Grandma said you didn't want me." My throat closed. I could not breathe for a second. I glanced briefly towards Susan and David, who were watching from the doorway, guarded and silent. Then I looked back at my daughter. "Honey," I said, and my voice shook. "She lied." Cora's lip trembled. "She said you told them. She said you were tired of me." My eyes burned. "I came home," I said, slowly and carefully, as if my words were the only thing holding her together. "I came home and you weren't there. I had been looking forward to spending the whole day with you. I drove here as fast as I could." Cora's eyes searched mine. "You didn't tell them," she whispered. "You didn't tell them to bring me here because you don't want me." "Never," I said, and my voice broke on the word. "Not in a million years." Her shoulders sagged. Then slowly her arms lifted and wrapped around me. Not tightly, not all at once, cautiously but real. I held her like the world had just proved it could not be trusted. Behind us, David cleared his throat. Susan spoke, her voice still stiff. "We believed you did not want her." "I do," I said without looking up. David's voice came steadier, lower. "We do not approve of what Stephen is like." That made me look at him. His eyes were serious, not soft, but sincere. And when we believed a child was being handed off as if she were unwanted, we were willing to take her without hesitation. Susan nodded once, still rigid. We were not going to let her bounce around. I absorbed that, not as trust, not as relief, as information. a crack in the wall, arriving late, but landing exactly where it belonged. I stood and kept one hand on Cora's shoulder. "I am taking her," I said. Susan did not argue. David did not block the door. They watched us go. Hash the hotel and the plan. Cora held my hand so tightly in the car that it hurt. I let it hurt because it meant she was there. I did not take her back to the house. Not after what I had seen in her room. Not after what my mother had told her. I drove us straight to a hotel. Beige walls, neutral carpet. The kind of place designed to be completely forgettable. Perfect. Cora climbed onto the bed with her shoes still on and stared at the television without turning it on. I sat beside her and exhaled slowly. "Okay," I said softly. "New plan." Cora looked at me, her eyes still wary. "Are we safe?" That question hit me like a fist. I reached for her hand. "Yes," I said, "we are safe." Then I did what I always do when everything falls apart at once. I started handling it. I called work, family emergency, I need time off. No one in a hospital asks for a full explanation when your voice sounds like that. "Take what you need. We'll cover," said my charge nurse. I hung up and looked at my daughter, and the part of me that had been quiet for too long under layers of exhaustion and learned compliance stood up fully. Food first, bath, clean pajamas, a warm drink. Her favorite show, my hand on her back while she slowly fell asleep. I did not unload my rage on her. I did not hand her any adult fear. I just kept saying what mattered. "You are with me. I have got you. No one gets to move you around like that." She fell asleep curled against my side, as if afraid I might disappear. When her breathing was slow and even, I checked my phone. Missed calls, so many. My mother, my father, Allison. Texts, too, angry and confused and demanding, as if I owed them a response. I did not reply to any of them. Instead, first thing in the morning, I called a law firm. Hash the legal reality. The next day, I sat across from a lawyer, Mr. Brown, in an office that smelled of coffee and polished wood. He had the calm, unhurried face of a man who had seen family chaos professionally and had long since stopped flinching at it. I slid the folder across the desk, the documents I had taken when I left. He flipped through them slowly, methodically, then looked up. "The house is legally yours," he said. Something loosened in my chest, like I had been holding my breath for years and had only just noticed. "You can absolutely proceed with eviction," he continued. "I will send the notices and begin the process." I nodded once. "Do it." Mr. Brown's pen moved across paper. "They will be angry." I let out a small, dry laugh. They were angry when they voted my daughter out. At least this time, their anger comes with a stamp on it. Hash the hospital. 2 days later, Cora was back at school. Not magically healed, not instantly fine, but back in routine, which is its own kind of medicine. I was back at the hospital, doing my best to function like my personal life was not currently a controlled demolition, when I heard my name, not a coworker's voice, but a demanding asterisk voice. I turned around. There they were, my mother and father in the middle of the hospital corridor, waving the eviction documents. My mother's face was flushed with fury. My father looked as if he had been chewing on his anger for 2 straight days and found it unsatisfying. They marched toward the nurses' station, voices already climbing. Patients looked over. Staff stiffened. A security guard began paying close attention. I stepped forward before it could become a full scene. 5 minutes, I said, clipped. That is all you get. My mother hissed. Oh, asterisk, now you have limits. I led them to a side corridor near an empty consultation room, close enough that staff could see me, far enough that my unit did not have to witness the whole thing. My father shoved the papers toward me. Explain this. My mother's voice rose. How asterisk dare asterisk you? How dare you send lawyers after your own family? My father snapped. You scammed asterisk us. You stole our house. I blinked slowly. I stole asterisk it. You used a loophole, my mother spat. You planned this, you betrayed us. I kept my voice flat. Hospital calm. The kind you develop when someone is bleeding and you need your hands steady. You begged me, I said. My mother scoffed. We never begged. You did, I said. You were approximately $68,000 in unsecured debt. You were nearly $20,000 behind on the mortgage and taxes. You could not refinance. Your credit was ruined. I put in $24,000 of my own savings up front. I took on a monthly payment of $23.50 in my name. I put my credit and my entire future at risk. My mother's eyes flashed. And now you are throwing that in our faces. No, I said. I am putting it back where it belongs. My father stepped closer. We are your parents. I looked at him, and something settled into place inside me, clean and very final. You stopped being my parents, I said, the moment you voted my daughter out. My mother's voice rose higher. We made a difficult decision for you. You made it for yourselves, I said. For Allison's studio, for your own comfort, for control. My mother flinched as if I had said something obscene. You sent my child to a man she barely knows, I continued, and you told her that I did not want her. My father's eyes flicked away for half a second. Good. You do not get access to Cora, I said. Not now, not ever. My mother snarled. You cannot keep her from us. I can, I said, and I will. Their voices climbed again, accusations, panic, desperation. I took one step back and nodded to the security guard who was now hovering at the end of the corridor. I'm done, I said. You have used your 5 minutes. My mother began to protest. Security stepped in. They were escorted out, still shouting, still trying to drag me back into the old role I had played my entire life. But that role was gone. I watched them disappear through the exit doors, heart pounding, hands trembling, spine straight. Because power is not loud. Power is leaving. And as I turned back toward my unit, one thought landed cleanly. They thought they could vote my daughter out. I decided to vote them out of my house instead. What came after? A month later, my mother, my father, and Allison had all moved out. Not stormed out and returned genuinely gone. Actually moved. I took a new job at a clinic one town over. Part-time, stable hours, no double shifts, the kind of schedule that is built for a mother, not around one. The house held too many memories, so I rented it out approximately $2,850 per month and used that income to live comfortably on part-time wages while covering occasional childcare when I needed it. Life also became easier for a very straightforward reason. My mother, father, and Allison were no longer draining my finances. I went completely no contact. No calls, no texts, no, just checking in. I heard through relatives that they were in a 2-bedroom rental now. Allison was still there, apparently still running her influencer hobby from her bedroom and living off their pension as though it were a career plan. Cora recovered slowly, not in a straight line, but slowly. She started sleeping through the night again, started laughing without first checking my face to see if it was allowed, started trusting that home meant me. And the twist I had not expected, I stayed in contact with Susan and David. They did not excuse Stephen. They did not defend him. They simply showed up for Cora quietly, consistently, every single week. And Cora actually enjoys it. Some things, it turns out, cannot be voted away.